Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Michelle and I'm an autistic woman raising 3 autistic kids. Today I want to talk about something that's really personal to me, and that's the 18 most overlooked autistic traits in women. A lot of us go undiagnosed or misunderstood for years because a lot of those traits don't fit into the stereotypical idea of autism. I know firsthand just how frustrating it can feel when no one gets you. So let's dive in and talk about the traits that often get overlooked in autistic women. Number 1 is intense imagination and escapism. I always had an extremely vivid imagination. As a kid, I would escape into movies, daydreams, and even hyper-focus on creating elaborate stories. It was my way of coping with a world that felt overwhelming. Many autistic women use fantasy as a retreat, whether it be through storytelling, role-playing, or immersing themselves with fictional characters. This can sometimes be mistaken for immaturity, but in reality, it's just a way to deal with stress and overstimulation. Number 2, mimicking social behaviour. Instead of naturally picking up social cues, I learnt through observation, kind of like an actor who's studying for a role. I mimicked tones, phrases, and body language just to fit in. It's exhausting, but it helps us survive in social situations. Unfortunately, over time, this can lead to an identity crisis. You get to the point where you're not sure you know who you really are. It can also make friendships feel transactional and not truly deeply connected because you feel like you're always performing and not being your true self. Number 3, delayed processing time. Have you ever had someone say something to you and it doesn't fully register until a few minutes or even a few hours later? Yep, me too. My brain needs extra time to process conversations, so sometimes my responses can be a little slow, or it may seem like I'm uninterested, but it's actually just me thinking about what you've said and also then thinking of a response. This can be especially tricky in fast-paced conversations where the person needs a response immediately. I often find myself nodding along while my brain is trying to catch up, and then I realised I've missed part of the conversation. It can be tough to navigate. Number 4 is intense special interests. Autistic women might have deep consuming interests, but they're more socially acceptable, like crafts, psychology, or literature. For others like myself, they may be a little bit more niche, like I love Monster High dolls, which is not something a lot of women in their 40s love to collect or talk about. I also love to write. So for me, my love of Monster High dolls and my storytelling becomes more than a passion. I really hyper-focus on it. Special interests bring us joy, structure, and a sense of control in an otherwise chaotic world. However, when we talk about our special interests, we might not notice that others aren't as engaged as us, which can actually make socializing a little bit more tricky. Number 5 is masking. Now, masking is doing things to hide our autistic traits, and some of us actually do it without even thinking. I spent years trying to be what others wanted me to be, and it was completely draining. It's why so many autistic women experience burnout. The constant effort to suppress stimming, maintain eye contact, and appear normal can take its toll physically and mentally. This is why so many autistic women reach breaking point later in life. It's because the ability to mask becomes harder and it's exhausting and they can no longer do it. I know I personally have reached that point where I'm finding it more difficult to mask. I must admit though, I've never felt more myself as I do now, and I no longer put those expectations on myself to try and fit in. If you get me, you get me. If you don't, you don't. Number 6 is struggling with verbal communication. People assume that autistic people either talk too much or they don't talk at all. For me, it's both. Some days I can talk and talk the whole day, hours on end. But then other days, I don't really like to talk much at all. It all depends on energy levels and sensory overload. When I'm overwhelmed, my words become almost trapped. And I have so much to say, but I don't know how to get it out. And sometimes when I do get it out, I say the wrong thing and I'm misunderstood. Number 7 is a strong sense of justice. I get really upset when things seem really unfair, whether it's some big world event that's happening or whether it's something small like someone's broken a rule. That can make me feel a little anxious. It's like I have an internal moral compass that just will not let things slide. This can make us come across as rigid or argumentative, but it really comes from a deep-rooted need for fairness and integrity. Number 8, difficulty recognizing and expressing emotions. I sometimes struggle to pinpoint how I'm feeling. Sometimes I know I'm upset, but I don't know the exact cause. And when I do express my emotions, they might come out too intensely, or I might express myself in the wrong way. This can lead to being misunderstood. I don't know how many times I've said, I didn't mean it that way, because I really didn't mean offense. I was just expressing myself the way I felt in that moment, and I haven't articulated it properly, so it's either come out as rude or abrupt when I really sincerely didn't mean it that way. Sometimes I only realise how I felt about a situation hours or days after the event because of the delayed processing time for me to work out and process what happened in that situation. And by then the situation is done and I've missed my opportunity to express my emotions at the time, which again can be a tricky situation and hard to navigate. Number 9, highly sensitive to criticism. Even constructive criticism can feel like a personal attack. I'm working on taking things not so personally, but for autistic women this can be a real struggle. It's not that we don't want your feedback, it's just that our brain processes it in a way that makes it feel more overwhelming and more deeply personal. I'm a writer, so I've had to work really hard on taking constructive criticism in a positive way. And let's face it, I wouldn't get very far in the business if I took critiques personally. Number 10 is overthinking social interactions. After every conversation, I replay it in my head, analysing what I said and what I did. Did I talk too much? Did I say too little? Did I appear weird? Are they going to like me? Maybe they don't like me. It's absolutely exhausting, but common for autistic women. This overanalyzing can lead to social anxiety and a fear of going into future social interactions. For example, I went out last night, had a really great time. Of course, when I got home, my brain tried to convince me that I said and did something wrong. I am aware now when those thoughts pop up, just to redirect myself, remind myself that I had a positive interaction, and leave it at that. Number 11 is sensory issues that may seem mild to others. I don't like loud noises, but I can tolerate them in short bursts. I also hate certain fabric textures, but I push through because I know I should, and eventually my body will get used to that sensation. I personally can't handle any sort of fat in my mouth, so when I eat a steak or any sort of mince, my plate looks horrendous afterwards because there's all these spat out bits of fat all the way around. It's gross, but I simply just cannot bring myself to swallow it down. To me, it's just the worst. Sensory issues don't always look extreme, but they're still there. Even small irritations like the clothing tag on the back of your shirt or even a small noise in the distance can be irritating. I know for me personally, when there's roadworks and even if it's a few streets away, I can hear the humming of the machinery. It's dull, nobody else can hear it, but I can hear it, and it feels like it's burrowing into my ear and into my brain, and it drives me insane. So yes, I hate it when I drive around and I see any sort of roadworks near my house because I know I am going to hear it and then I'm going to feel it. Number 12 is people pleasing and perfectionism. I was always the good girl growing up and trying so hard to meet everyone's expectations. A lot of autistic women are people pleasers and perfectionists because we're trying to avoid any sort of negative attention. This can lead to burnout as we push ourselves too hard to try and meet those unrealistic standards. When I was a teenager and I had an assignment due, if I felt it wasn't written neatly enough, I would rewrite it. I just couldn't hand it in looking substandard, and I always got comments from my teachers about how beautiful and neat my handwriting was. So I also felt the need to keep that standard going. It's safe to say at 45 and with 3 kids, perfectionism for me is out the window. And as for people pleasing, I no longer do that. If you don't like me, that's okay. Number 13 is navigating romantic relationships. Romantic relationships can be extremely challenging for autistic women. We often struggle with the nuances of flirting, boundaries, and emotional connection. Because of our deep need to be accepted, we may tolerate red flags or abuse longer than we should. Many autistic women unfortunately find themselves in toxic relationships. They may be manipulated and taken advantage of because they don't recognize the warning signs, or they may have that deep sense that they need to people please, so they stay in their relationship. The rates of abuse are sadly a lot higher for autistic women than they are for neurotypical women. Learning to set boundaries and advocate for ourselves in relationships is crucial. Number 14, strong need for control. Change can sometimes be hard for me. I like to know what's happening and when it's happening. Sudden changes or disruptions in my routine can cause just a little bit of anxiety. Like when I'm cooking dinner and my husband very nicely comes in and says, "Can I help you with anything?" as he's grabbing a spoon and maybe a spice out of the spice rack. I just can't handle it. I politely, or sometimes not so politely, will say, "No thanks, you can just go sit down, that's fine. I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm using, and I just like to keep it that way." Having a sense of control makes the world feel a little bit safer and more predictable. That's why a lot of autistic women have set routines or rigid rituals. Number 15 is unusual sleep patterns. My sleep has never been normal. I either sleep too much or I can't sleep at all. A lot of women have irregular sleep patterns due to sensory sensitivities or an overactive mind. Even small things like the wrong texture of sheets or an unexpected little noise can disrupt our sleep. Number 16 is chameleon-like behaviour. I've spent my whole life adapting to different people and to different environments, and it gets to the point where you don't even know who you are anymore. Autistic women often shift their personalities based on who they're with, so they don't stand out. You be who people want you to be in that moment, and sometimes you feel like you're so many different people. It can get really confusing. And then sometimes you shift your behaviour and it's still not good enough. All this can make it really difficult to develop a strong sense of self. Number 17 is secret stims. Stimming isn't just hand flapping or rocking. Many autistic women develop secret stims that may appear more socially acceptable. I've always had little habits like tapping my fingers, playing with my hair, or bouncing my leg under the table. These stims help regulate emotions and sensory input, but we've been conditioned to hide them. So most often than not, you're stimming and you don't even realize it. Learning to embrace stimming openly can be really freeing, and it can help with regulation. I stim a lot more now, and when I'm out in public and I need to stim because I need to regulate myself, I don't feel embarrassed anymore when I do it. Number 18, and this is a really important one, it's gaslighting, but gaslighting ourselves. As autistic women, we compare ourselves to neurotypical women, and we often place that pressure on ourselves that we should be doing what other women are doing. We tell ourselves that we're lazy, that we're overacting and being too dramatic, when in fact we're struggling because our brains are wired differently. This internalized gaslighting can make it even harder for us to accept our needs and to set boundaries. Learning to recognize and validate our own experiences is a huge step forward in self-acceptance. If any of these traits sound familiar, you're not alone. Many of us spend years feeling like something's off without realizing we're actually autistic. Understanding these overlooked traits has helped me embrace who I am, and I hope it helps you too. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and share with anyone that you feel may need to hear it. I'd love to hear from you. What traits do you relate to the most? Let's keep the conversation going in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.